Hello ukulele bandits. I was asked if I would do a video for beginners on fingerpicking for the ukulele, so here it is. And we've got a picture on screen here of a hand. This is my picking hand, so it depends on whether you're left or right-handed. I'm right-handed, so my right hand, the one that I strum the strings with, will be my picking hand. And basically we've got the thumb, the index, the middle, the ring, and the little pinky finger. And you can see that there's Spanish words on there because it's usually written down in music using the Spanish terminology, and that's linked to the history of Spanish and classical music coming from Spain. So that is one of the things that we use. So let me show you the picture I've got on screen now is the finger picking pattern we're going to learn to start with. So you can see here we've got P-I-M-A written on the musical notes. We're not worried about the musical notes more than we're worried about the strings. So you can see I've got a chord camera here, which I call it the chord cam because it's when I'm fingering chords you can see how I'm fingering those chords. But in this case we're going to use it as our fingering cam. And the idea is that when you look down the neck you should see how I'm positioning my hand and my fingers. And this will vary for different people depending on the size of your hands, how you like to rest. There's various ways you can do this. There's not a complete rule that you've got to stick to, but there's a few little things that will help. So first things first, getting comfortable. We're going to play that first pattern. Now what you do is you place your thumb on the G string, you put your first finger, which is your index finger, on the C string. Then on the E string, I'm going to place the middle finger, and then the ring finger will be on the A string. And you place them on and you get them comfortable, you rest them there. That's the first thing you need to do. Now if you rest your arm, sort of like take the wrist down slightly and relax and into the body a little bit, so it's nice and comfortable there. Your little finger might stick out. You can place the little finger if you want to do what we call an anchor, which is you anchor. If you put your little finger on the body, it keeps your fingers closer to the strings. So if you feel like these are waving all over the place, you can't keep hold of it, so put the little finger on the body, that will help. I tend to vary what I'm doing depending on what I'm doing, so you might see me do a few different things here, but I'm going to stick this out a little bit out of the way. And you can see it's shorter, so it's not very useful when it comes to playing, using for finger picking. So we've got we've got a thumb on that top one there, index, middle, ring. And what we're going to do is just going to pluck from that G string, then the C, then the E, then the A. You just do that in order, G, C, E, A. Now on the diagram you see there are X's. That's because I don't want to hold a chord because it gets in the way of seeing what I'm doing with the fingers. So once you get used to this, you can apply this to any chord you like. Obviously chords that use all the strings are better. So the idea is that the X just represents the one you're plucking. So this first X that you see on the screen, if I get my little arrow around it with the blue here, this one here is the G string. Then we've got the C string, then the E, then the A. It's a bit annoying, it moves up and down as I do it, but there you go. So just highlight that on the screen. That's you'll see there, and then I'm just playing that again. Now the idea is to keep my fingers as close to the strings as possible. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to jump your fingers. You want to keep them as close, which means keeping the hand as still as you can and the wrist and the arm locked in so that you can just really move the fingers. You don't want to move anything else. You don't want to move the wrist or anything like that. You want to keep everything still and just be able to move the finger. Now that does take a lot of practice getting that fluent, but if you get the fingers, especially with the thumb rested on the top of the string and the other fingers rested slightly underneath, so they're curled underneath and the thumb above, you should be able to, and if I bring this in a little bit you can see it on the other camera as well. See the thumb's further forward, the other fingers slightly curled behind at an angle. It depends on how you rest your arm on your wrist, how that's going to look, but it's got to be comfortable. It's got to be comfortable and it's got to be just relaxed. And what you want to do is just sit there and try and get accurately, do it as slow as you can, accurately on everyone. Now as I play, I lift off and I'm ever so slightly there, but if I was to put my fingers straight down, they should be right above the notes. So if you find you're floating away and you're not anywhere near the notes, then you know you're moving your hand, you're moving the arm, and you want to keep it locked into the body of the ukulele more. This will help a lot, and like I said, the little finger stuck to the body will help as well. So anyway, let's have a look at the next pattern. It's very simple because it's just going backwards. So let me highlight that one for you. So you can see it there, it's just going backwards there. So you got your thumb, index, middle, and your ring, and then you just go the other way, ring, middle, index, thumb. So you practice going down, practice going up, and when you feel like you've got that, this is over really 4 beats. Try and do it like this. Imagine there's a 4-note strum. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it rings nicely on every beat. It's even. Okay, that thumb plucking down, fingers plucking up. That will be a really good way of getting a nice projection on the sound, and it sounds quite nice. So let's move on to the next exercise, exercise 3. No need to use any descriptions for fingers as we go through these exercises now, because you're going to do the same thing. Thumb, index, middle, and your ring will be sitting on these strings all the time. If you use one finger, if you use a thumb, you'll be using your arm movement, and it'll be harder to actually get accuracy as you go along, because you'll be floating away from the notes all the time. So this is why you want to keep them as close to the notes as possible. And this is just really playing in 8th notes now. So if we were to strum 8th note, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and like our down and up strums, this is how we would pluck them. So it's just basically the 8, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and so now I'm going up and down without stopping, and I'm not playing that A string again. I'm actually just going straight to the next string, so it's constant flow. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and let's do this with a C chord. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and obviously that's quite quick. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and if you've not done it before. But what you can do is just literally pick any chord you want. And if I bring my hand here so you can see it a bit clearer. It sounds really nice, really melodic, very colourful. And the idea is to just get used to doing that one exercise, down and up. Keeping your fingers as close to the notes as possible. The quicker you go, the closer you have to be. It's economy, you need to get there quick. So if you exercise that from the very beginning, just getting used to it, your fingers want to float around, they're not used to it. You're used to strumming, you're used to moving your wrist and your hand more, but you have to lock this in more and keep it stationary so that the fingers are doing the work. There's a little bit of movement, you can relax a little bit, obviously. If it's I don't want you to be like too rigid, it's got to be quite smooth. But you don't want to float away from the strings, which you might find you're doing right at the beginning. Anyway, so the next one, these are just like now a couple of patterns that you can try out. So once you've gone down, you're going up, and then you're going down and up in 8ths. This one here is basically going down, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and so some songs you might prefer the sound of the pattern instead of going up and down, just going down. Do it slowly I'll just do it on a normal C chord because you can see it clearer with the fingers here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and always keeping within the even beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and let's look at another one. So exercise 5, this is where we're just going to skip around a little bit. Fun times. So we're going to skip about, so using exactly the same fingers. So if I can get it so you can see it clearer. Yeah, there you go. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to use my thumb, then my middle, then my index, and then my ring. So I'm literally skipping over. So I start with the G string, then to the E, then back to the C, then to the A. Now that's really tricky. Once you've got used to going up and down straight, then you've got to also learn to do something different. So you don't want to spend too long on one exercise. You want to get the general gist of it and then try and mix it up so your fingers don't get so good at one that when you go to the next one, it's like it takes a while to get your brain to program it. So yeah, we're going to skip over and then it does it again. And if I do that with like an F chord, C, so you can hear that it sounds really nice, really melodic and a little bit different. You can mix all these up as well. You can start with one and then I can go up and down and I can mix up the pattern and make it really, really interesting. So once you've got 2 or 3 patterns, you should really experiment and find your own. As long as if you're doing the down strums, 1, 2, 3, that's how slow it is. And then when you start putting the 8th notes, which is your down and up strums, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that's what we're doing there. So the next one is, it's like a pattern where you go down in 3. So you're basically going thumb, index, middle, and then you go to the index, middle, ring, and then to finish it off. So you're staggering down, so you're like walking down like steps basically. So you start with the top 3, the next 3, last 2. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So you're going to go from that G, C, and E. Then we're going to go C, E, A. Then E and A. And that's just giving your fingers a little bit more different, something different to think about and something different to do. And yet again, like I said, you could easily combine both of these two together. You could play the first one, well, if I play the whole lot here, look, and it's jumbled, and I try and get it right. So we're going to go. So you can see how it sounds kind of interesting, and if that was placed over an F and it's something like maybe an A minor. Almost went to a C there by habit. I'll try that again, F and A minor. So this is like the pattern with an F and A minor. So I do the first bar with an F, A minor, do the second, first one, A minor. So you can see how I use one pattern for one chord, one pattern for another chord, and you can make that as intricate and interesting as you want. So you just need to get used to going up, to get down, and then you vary, like skipping the strings and then mixing your ups and downs as well. And you can come up with lots of different patterns just by playing around with those in combinations. So one last thing then to look at that's quite cool. So when we do the Hawaiian straw, if you think about the island strum, which is a down, down, up, up, down, up, which is like a go-to strumming pattern that fits a lot of songs. It's nice and interesting, and it's like one of the first kind of strumming patterns that you kind of learn that really is very common on the ukulele. So down, down, up, up, down, up, down, down, up, up, down, up. We can impersonate that in our picking by literally playing the same rhythm but just in notes. So I'm going to play the G, the C and the E, just like the down, down, up. And then when I play from the A, the E and the G, sorry, A, E and C, I'm going to play straight 8th notes. So put that together. Sounds really interesting. So the basic idea is to take the strumming pattern that you've learned, that you're already familiar to, the rhythm, and to break those into single notes. And so one more time, the rhythm pattern for the island strum, which is down, down, up, up, down, up, and then put it in picking terms. We're going to play from our G, C, E, and then I'm going to go from the A, E and C. Put it together. Notice when I went from strumming, I was moving my wrist and very loose with my hand here. As soon as I went to picking, I went rigid. And it's really important to get those two ideas in your head, that when you're strumming you're loose, and then when you're just like more rigid with your arm, and let your fingers do the talking. So anyway, moving it on. This is the very last exercise. I think I've given a good account for how I would start with all the fingers. But when you play like banjolele, or I play banjo quite a lot, and I love playing banjo, and the common thing with banjo is free finger rolls, or free note rolls. So the idea is here, rather than using that fourth finger, that ring finger, we're just going to use the thumb, the index and the middle, and we're going to this typical banjo roll would be played basically from the C, E and A string. And you just literally play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so you're going down the free notes, and because you want to get to 8, and we're kind of on 6 already, so we're going to just finish off the last 2 playing the first part of it, and then you can play that bar over and over again. And that's quite a nice pattern to learn if you're playing like a banjolele, or if you're playing over something countryish and you want to have something that sounds a little bit more like what a banjo finger picking pattern would sound like. That's over a C chord. Let's put one over an F. And it's quite nice. It's quite a nice pattern. So that's what we call a forward roll in banjo. I don't know if it's written there at all. Let's have a look. Yeah, finger roll forwards, and then the backwards roll is literally the same thing but going backwards. So we're going to go from the A, E and the C, and literally just rolling up. Yet again, you could combine the two. You could go forwards and upwards. You could do lots of things with these patterns, but I wanted to show you a little bit on the free finger one. If you particularly play a banjolele, or you play a lot of like the country type ukulele songs, and that works really well. But work with the 4 and try out the 3. Try them all out. Start very slow, start at the very beginning, and just get used to the main thing is sticking to those notes and brushing upwards with the fingers, down, pluck with the thumb. I mean, it's the way your hand curls. If you look at the way the hand curls, it curls naturally in that position, making it really comfortable and easy to do that, to stroke the strings. Anyway, before I get too carried away, that's the beginner tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed. Like, subscribe and all the wonderful things, and I will see you very, very soon. Take it easy.